Jews in Australia, Canada, North America, Britain are under this tremendous onslaught of being held personally responsible for what is perceived to be the crimes of Israel. So they have a double kind of assault, including an enormous amount of gaslighting in which they are bombarded with fabricated falsehoods and defamatory lies about Israel designed to delegitimize it as a prelude to its destruction. I mean, I've had it to my face. People in Australia have certainly had it to their face. You have killed thousands of Gazan children. Why are you killing Palestinian babies? Like, personally. I mean, this is, by any standards, deranged. So we now have a situation where, I think quite rightly, people are very, very concerned about anti-Semitism. The oldest hatred has come out, to a degree of brazenness and threat in both its scale and its nature. People did not ever think they would see this in the so-called civilized West. But this rather obscures the more immediate source of the undermining, which is anti-Zionism, singling out Israel as being uniquely demonic. Now, a moment's thought would tell anybody that even if you can't stand Israel, does it really, is it really worse than the actual tyrannies, murderous tyrannies of the Middle East, of Russia, of China? I mean, but what are people talking about? So that has kind of taken over the Western mind. And I believe it was a kind of Trojan horse. The hatred of Israel, the demonization and delegitimization of Israel went hand in hand with the promotion of what I call Palestinianism, which is the Palestine cause. Countless numbers of very decent, conscience-driven, well-meaning people in the West have supported the Palestinian cause on the basis that, in their view, they are supporting people who are oppressed, people who have been deprived of their own land, who are being persecuted, oppressed, and humiliated by the Israelis. Now, every single part of that is a lie. The opposite is the case. But the espousal of this cause has been so great that it has become synonymous with conscience itself.
Yes.
It has been become synonymous with morality itself. And consequently, a cause, the Palestinian cause, which I would suggest is based entirely on the desire to exterminate the Jewish homeland in Israel, and which draws upon some of the most obscenely terrible tropes of anti-Semitic demonization of Jews that one found going back into the Middle Ages with the Christian world, the Inquisition, the Catholic Church, burning Jews alive, and so on and so forth, through to the Soviet Union, from where I think much of this rhetoric actually comes, and indeed Islamic sources also. That is what the Palestinian cause does. It demonizes Jews, and it calls for the destruction of Israel, and it does so, moreover, by attempting to steal from the Jews their own historic identity or history in the land. It says, the Jews never were here, we were here first. The Jews were never here, it's our land. That is all a complete lie. So they are literally trying to destroy Judaism itself. That's what the Palestinian cause does. It is murderous, it incites not just hatred of Israelis and Jews, but it actually calls for them to be murdered. It is all about the destruction of Israel, it's about the destruction of Judaism. And millions of well-meaning Brits and Europeans and Americans and Australians have signed up to this cause as synonymous with morality and conscience. Now, that hasn't just done terrible things to Jews and to the sort of political reality of Israel being so oppressed and attacked on the world's stage. I think it's done something even greater than that, worse than that. It has literally destroyed the West's whole moral compass. It's not only that it can no longer distinguish truth from lies because its own universities abolished objective truth decades ago. It now believes that the lies are not just true, but that the lies, the murderous lies, stand for conscience and morality. So its whole moral compass I mean, I say it's been destroyed. It's been turned into, it's been harnessed in the cause of evil. What passes for conscience now in the West is in the service of the utmost evil that we can find in the world. Now, this is, to put it mildly, not just monstrous, it is absolutely terrifying, because it means the West is totally lost in every possible conceivable sense. And there are people who understand this. I think people understand this more than we think. I think people kind of feel it in their gut that they are being told a set of lies, and they can see certain things in their societies which disturb them greatly. Many people feel they can no longer recognize their own societies in Britain, in Europe, perhaps even in Australia. And that's why we are seeing the rise of populism, this desperate desire by the public to find politicians who go against the political mainstreams. The political mainstream is considered to have abandoned people to having their identities, their national identities, their national cultures ripped up. So we have the rise of populism. I have to say, looking at the populists, I'm not sure whether any of them is up to this. I'm not sure whether any of them fully understands the full horror and the full scale and nature of the calamity that has now befallen the West. It requires a rare statesman, a statesman of rare intellect and courage, first of all, to see it, acknowledge it, and secondly, to do something about it. We may see that. We may see that as this thing becomes more and more apparent to more and more people, situation becomes more and more desperate. We may see that. But at the moment, you talk about, how do we get to this? How did Australia get to this? It's a Western mortal sickness, and someone has to find the cure before the West goes down completely. The Islamic world is very smart. As I've said, it understands the West much better than the West understands itself. And it understands also something different, which the West refuses now to acknowledge. It seems to me the Islamic world understands that religion is the scaffolding of a culture and a society. It certainly is the scaffolding of the Islamic world. I mean, it's all about Islam, with terrible effects on everybody else because it wishes to impose Islam on everybody else. But nevertheless, it understands that religion is what a society depends upon for its identity. Religion gives a society its moral scaffolding and, to a certain extent, its political scaffolding. Now, the West does not understand this at all. The West has decided, generally speaking, obviously there are religious people still in the West, particularly in America, but the West collectively has decided that religion is bunk and that religion stands in the way of all good things. It stands in the way of progress, of modernity, of science, of rationality, of conscience. It's authoritarian, it's antediluvian, it's anachronistic, it is troglodyte, all completely wrong. All the greatness of the West, its moral greatness and its scientific modernity, achievements, greatness kind of thing, and its political greatness, its invention of political freedom, they all come from the Hebrew Bible, mediated through the great religious superstructure, or do I mean infrastructure, of the West, which was Christianity. And the West's elites have taken a wrecking ball to that identity and to all those values.
Done a pretty good job.
They've done a tremendously good job. So the result of that is they've created a vacuum where their own core values should be, where their identity should be. They no longer know what their identity is. They're unable to identify it. They, insofar as they identify it, they do so wrongly by casting it as having been created according to the original sins of colonialism and imperialism and whiteness. It's absolute nonsense. And as a result, they have tried to replace it by what they consider to be liberal universalist values. But they're not universalist at all. Quite clearly, most cultures don't adhere to, for example, the idea that we are all created equal in the image of God.
Which is the key
that
to
comes
democratic freedom.
from the Bible. It does not appear in any other culture, and that is the basis of everything that's good in the West. And there are many, many other good things. So they created a vacuum, and the Islamists understood that that vacuum meant that they could come in and place their own values in such a way that they would not be resisted, and that they understood that the West would no longer defend itself properly either in cultural terms, political terms, or in military terms. So it was open to them. And one of the ways in which they have so successfully undermined the West is through colonizing the Western mind, which was vulnerable because it had abolished the idea of objective truth. It believed that the West was born in the original sins of colonialism, etc. It cast Israel as being that. And over many decades, its brightest and best taught themselves this story about Israel and Zionism.